Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of NCompass Live. I am your host, Krista Burns, here at the Nebraska Library Commission. NCompass Live is the Library Commission's weekly online event where we cover any sort of events or activities that may be of interest to librarians across the state. We do these sessions every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, and they are recorded, so you can watch any recordings of our over 2 years now worth of NCompass Live sessions if you want to on our website. We have commission staff that do sessions, and we have guest speakers, and today we have sort of a mixture. This morning our topic is the power of word-of-mouth marketing, and we've got Peggy Barber here with us and Mary Jo Ryan over on her left there from the Library Commission. So I'm just going to hand over to you guys to take it away.
Thank you, Krista.
Thanks
a lot. I do want to say a few words about Peggy Barber because we're so excited to have you here with us today, Peggy. Peggy's been a longtime friend, and she is actually the principal at the Library Communications Strategies. It's her own library communications firm. But prior to launching this consulting practice, she was the Associate Executive Director for Communication for the American Library Association, and she established the ALA Public Information Office, Public Programs Office, and the ALA Graphics Program, including the widely known Celebrity Read Poster Series, which I know a lot of you are familiar with those Celebrity Read Posters. You have Peggy to thank for those. She also, she and her business partner, Linda Wallace, have just completed a book, Building a Buzz, Libraries and Word-of-Mouth Marketing. So we have the right person with us today to talk with us about word-of-mouth marketing, and I appreciate you being here so much, Peggy.
Well, thank you, Mary Jo. Do you think I ought to start building a buzz about the book?
Yes, let's build a buzz about the book.
Well, thank you for inviting me here today to talk about my favorite topic. And I'm so convinced that word-of-mouth marketing can change our world. It's powerful. And I'd like to start out by asking you to think about a few things like, do you do media interviews? Do you make presentations to groups? Or more importantly, do you talk to other people? Just think about the opportunities to get library out into the conversation in the community, in the communities we serve. I mean, there are endless possibilities. So that's going to be our focus today. And oh, it's so slow.
Yeah.
Huh. What we want to do today is...
It's artistic.
Yeah, it looks really high-tech with all those little, Our goal for today is to help you get people talking about your library. We're going to talk about how to do word-of-mouth marketing and why, and share some examples and ideas, and hopefully have some fun. And the first thing I'd like you to think about is this pyramid, and this is from a book called Word of Mouth Marketing by Jerry Wilson that was written many years ago. It's a way of thinking about the people that we serve, or the people in the community, even larger than the people we serve. So on the bottom of this pyramid we have suspects. Those are the folks who haven't a clue. They don't know you're there. Maybe there wasn't a library where they came from. Then there's prospects. They could become users. They probably went to the library when they were a kid and haven't been back since. Next on the pyramid we have customers. This is where this really resonates, I think, for libraries, because libraries have so many customers. I'm always out doing these programs, and I ask librarians for their daily door counts, and it is awesome. Even small libraries have 600, 800, 1,000 people coming in the door. Most retailers would be, maybe not Walmart, but most retailers would be super jealous of the kind of customer base that libraries have. In fact, I interviewed Mayor Daley for an article in American Libraries a few years ago, and it's not often that people say Mayor Daley is eloquent, but Mayor Daley was really eloquent about why he's built more than 59 new branch libraries since he's been in office, and he's about to leave office, in Chicago. Those libraries bring in so many people that they revitalize every neighborhood that they're in. They bring in people for the local businesses. They just pick up the traffic and make neighborhoods what neighborhoods ought to be. So we've got huge numbers of customers, but if we're not careful, it can be totally transactional. People can come and go, get what they want or not. Maybe we don't ever talk to them, and we're just passive about it. Okay, what's the next thing up on the pyramid? Clients. What's the difference between a customer and a client? What's the difference between a customer and a client?
It's got to be a relationship.
Yes.
If it's a client, it's a relationship.
Yes, absolutely. It's a relationship. And they're people who you know them and they know you, and they're regulars. And then the top of this pyramid, champions.
Your super patrons.
Yeah, the people who have a feeling of ownership, who love the library, care about it so much that they're going to be out in the community talking about it. And Wilson's point with this pyramid that I'm going on and on about is, what he suggests in his book is that it's more important to move customers up to be clients and champions than it is to spend all your resources reaching out to those suspects, to the last non-user.
Interesting.
Because you see, once you get the customers and clients going, then you're going to have more opportunities to be in conversation all over the community and to reach those suspects and to be mainstream in the community. So that's just kind of a way to think about how do we become more central in the communication? How do we turn customers into clients and champions? How do we really get the library out there? We were doing a workshop in Missouri a few years ago, and Liz Cashel, who was the director of the Henry County Library, said, well, the way you do it in Clinton, Missouri, is you use the 3 Bs. You go to bar rooms, beauty shops, and barber shops. So I want you to start, as we're beginning to think about word-of-mouth marketing, I want you to think about where does it happen in your community? Is it on the soccer field? Is it at the grocery store? Where are people talking? Maybe the 3 Bs is for everywhere, but think about it.
Every town has those, no matter how small it is. We did our visits to libraries across Nebraska.
Yeah.
The first year or two I was here, those Make a Difference visits. No matter how small a town is, it always had a bar and it had a beauty or barber shop or both.
And you know, and
a library.
And you know,
a library, because we were going there because of the library.
And you know what else they have? Mini storage facilities.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure that's where you'd go to talk. There. I saw one somewhere that was out here somewhere called the Cramelot Inn.
Anyway, that good.
Yeah. So word of mouth versus word of mouth marketing is, we can't wait for it to happen automatically. Now, a lot of it will. If people are really thrilled, if people have a sense of ownership, they may go tell their friends. But the difference, and what we're going to talk about today, is you using word-of-mouth marketing as a strategic tool. And that means that we've got to start talking about marketing in general. And I do like to preach about this. Libraries haven't been very interested in marketing, and all of a sudden it's on the top of the list because, oh, hey, we need it, right?
Yeah.
I saved this editorial from John Barry that he's a dear friend, the editor of Library Journal, one that he wrote in the 70s called The Selling of the Library. And he said we don't need that kind of PR and marketing stuff, that commercial pap. He said that's for the kind of people that are worried about split ends and saggy pantyhose. He said libraries are essential and therefore people will use them. And then he went on in that editorial to say, you don't see hospitals out there promoting themselves.
Now you do.
Don't you?
Don't you? Commercials on TV for hospitals, oh yeah.
Times have changed. And there was even a piece in the Chicago Tribune not too long ago that was from Northwestern Hospital that was something to the effect of, you've really got to build a relationship with the people who see you naked. I mean, I don't know. They're really
with those gowns they give you. You do want a relationship.
They're really out there doing it. And then John did another editorial about a year or two ago that he's come full circle, and it was about how we've got to get our message out. But he said we've got to get our message out, even if it means emptying the entire ALA endowment. Well, I guess he thinks we should be buying ads at the national level, and the ALA endowment wouldn't buy very many, I got to tell you. And so that the deal is, folks, and I wish I could see you. I'm just looking at the slides. Anyway, the deal is it's got to happen in every library, in every community. It's, you know, we can do national programs, and I wish we could come up with one that everybody would want to buy into. We could, that would be good. But even then, it's got to happen. Marketing has got to be a priority in how we run libraries. And this definition is from Philip Kotler and Sid Levy. And Kotler's at Northwestern University. This is from 1968 or something. And he's kind of the guru of not-for-profit marketing. This is long and complicated, but it's also very much to the point. The most important part of it is that it's talking about the organization keeping in constant touch with the consumers. It's about listening and developing the services that we provide based on what people out there want and need, not on what some other library is doing or what we think ought to be what libraries do. We've got to be connected. And for marketing, listening is more important than telling and selling. So
And I love about this, what I do love about this, that the communication piece of this is only one part of the definition. It's
right.
very clear that that's what a lot of people think marketing is communication, or at least the talking part of communication.
Yep. So marketing has got to be organized, focused, and consistent. It's not going to happen automatically. It can't be a little of this and a little of that. I go into so many libraries and I see an incredible amount of creative energy. There's flyers and posters all over the place. There's programs being advertised and services. And then I find out that Children's Services hasn't spoken to Adult Services since 1953. Yeah. And what you've got is a whole bunch of clutter. Mm-hmm. You know, there's nothing organized, focused, and consistent about it. And we've got to, if you don't come away with anything else today, just think about making marketing mainstream and how the libraries run and making it organized, focused, and consistent. And it's a team sport. Everybody on the staff has to be involved, and not just the staff. You know, the internal audiences are vitally important. Who are the other internal audiences? Well, you got your board members.
Key, isn't it?
Yeah, friends, volunteers.
Very important people in the marketing team.
Well, yeah, especially with word-of-mouth marketing. That whole gang can be out there. When you think of the potential, if everybody is out in an organized, focused, and consistent way promoting the library, powerful.
It's almost like everybody could be sitting down right now taking notes of who your marketing team might be.
Good idea.
And it would be not just staff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and include those champions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's, you know, we were talking about how we usually start with communication when we're talking about marketing. I like to make the whole marketing thing very simple and basic, and there are 4 steps. First, research. That's the listening. You know, how, and that involves what you know about the numbers, the data about the people you serve, how what's the new census telling you about the community? You know, what about the data about library use? Which services are used by whom? How's the community changing? And then also, you know, active research, from surveys to focus groups to taking somebody out to lunch, to the importance of all staff listening and feeding back what they hear on the front lines. There's all kinds of research. Planning, and we're going to talk about a bit about the importance of a plan. And finally, then you get to communication.
Yeah.
And we usually start with that. Oh, we want to do marketing, let's make bookmarks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the communication and the effort and the expense you put into that part of it are a better investment if there's a reason. And then finally, evaluation. Is our plan working? What do we need to change? where are we going? So, yeah, am I repetitive or what? We all know Bill Gates. This is a bit of his wisdom that I think is important for word-of-mouth marketing. It's even when we're out there in the community, it's not just that we're out talking about how wonderful the library is. We're listening as well, and everybody, particularly frontline staff, have to be encouraged to feed back what they hear, the good and the bad. So it's pretty interesting that in this age of social media and mass marketing, the commercial world is really struggling to keep up with strategies to get your attention. And it's amazing that there is so much clutter and competition these days. This is from another good book about word-of-mouth marketing, just a real positive statement about how, you know, regardless of Twitter, Facebook, and whatever, getting people to talk to people one-on-one about your product is the most powerful thing you can do. And it's pretty interesting because there is so much clutter. Do you remember when a commercial break on television used to be 2 30-second ads?
Sure. And it went by pretty fast.
How many is it now?
Now it's like 6 or 7.
Yeah, and then they get to the thing about the upcoming shows.
Yeah.
And do you remember when we bought cable because there were no ads?
Yeah. Well, that's why I love the DVR. You can just zip through the ads.
Well, yeah, and the ad breaks are so long you can go to the kitchen. I mean, you know, so there's clutter everywhere. They say that we're exposed to as many as 3,000 advertising messages a day. And when you think of all the stuff that pops up on your computer screens or on the sides of trucks as they go by and in the newspaper and the television, you know, that's probably about right. And they also say you hear about 128 ads on TV in an evening. I think it's probably more.
Yeah. Now, what I like about what George Silverman says here is getting people to talk often and favorably to the right people. I like that because that implies there's something we do to make it happen. We don't just wait for word of mouth to happen.
Right, right, yeah. Oh, and I love some of the businesses are getting so desperate. There was a thing on public radio several months ago about how Procter & Gamble is paying
housewives. I saw it.
Housewives,
yeah.
Housewives to tell their friends about Dawn dishwashing detergent.
Yep. Paying them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you'll like this.
We probably won't be paying anybody to talk about it.
because
we are paying them.
We don't
staff.
have to. It's dishonest to do that. But I thought this was pretty cool too. This was a recent thing. It was from September in the Chicago Tribune. Buns are no. Kentucky Fried Chicken has launched a campaign to promote the Double Down sandwich that uses fried chicken in place of buns. Yep. To appeal to young men, the company is paying college women $500 to wear the sandwich's name across their buns.
Oh my God.
Women's group called the promotion demeaning. I guess so.
Wow.
So
amazing. There you go.
Yeah, and now
we won't be doing that either.
No.
But we do have all these staff that we're already paying, and we do have all these champions that we've made just by doing good service.
Exactly. And the cool thing about word of mouth marketing for us is we can afford it. I mean, it's we can afford it and we can do it better than they can.
This is true.
And yeah, Nordstrom is known for excellent customer service and getting people to talk to their friends about their product. But you know, you wonder, can we inspire delight?
I think we do from time to time, but we don't capture it and then tell people about it again.
One of my favorite other quotes about word of mouth marketing is from Guy Kawasaki, who is the his title was Chief Evangelist for Apple Computer.
Mm-hmm.
And Guy said that anybody that wants to know about marketing ought to go to a hog rally. Go to a Harley Owners Group rally and you'd learn a shitload about marketing, pardon my French. That's the Kawasaki quote. And it just made me stop and think, could we inspire that kind of group enthusiasm? Could we get the people that enjoy and use libraries to be as wild, even if they don't wear leather?
You know what? We do with our children's services. It's with our adult services that we lose that level of excitement.
Yeah,
we still have
and
the
we're kind of waiting for it to happen automatically, right?
Yeah. We've got to somehow translate what we do with children's services into what we do with adults.
And get organized, focused, and consistent about it. This is just a demonstration of the poor guy being hit by all those ads and how word-of-mouth marketing might get his attention. So why does it work? Yeah, it's real people telling their friends things. It's personal. It's not a pitch. It's honest. It's catching. People like to tell stories. And they like to tell stories about things that are wonderful. The only thing that's more fun is telling stories about things that are really awful. So we'll talk about that when we talk about how to do it. They say that they'll tell 10 people something really good and maybe 50 the really bad stories. I could tell you one. I just never. Oh, that's okay. And you know, it's customer driven. The person decides when they want to talk and tell somebody, and it's just it can be viral. So now that I've made a case for it, let's talk about how to do it. And as I said before, we can't wait for it to happen all by itself. So what does it take? First thing, we've got the good product. You've got to have great customer relations. Good, people expect good service. And that's just there. It's that exceptional thing that they're going to want and go tell somebody about.
And I think that our customer service people, our front desk people, are, if they see themselves as the sales force as well as the customer service force, that'll help them to always be thinking about that, the great customer relations.
Yeah, and you know, it's really interesting because I think a lot of people get good service at libraries and they like us and we're kind of nice. But I'm not sure that we've done what it takes to build a culture of good customer service. Do you know a lot of libraries that really focus on it?
Some do.
It's not consistent across the board. There are some that do, and there's some that don't, and there's some that don't realize they need to.
But you know, I used to see, and I haven't seen these lately, but I used to see name tags for sale through ALA that said, "Love your library, tell a friend." And that to me was what would put that, if I wore that every day, that would put that message to the forefront of my mind, to always think, oh, well, whatever, I'm telling people to tell someone about the way we interact.
And that's the very difference of like in George Silverman's book about word-of-mouth marketing, he has lots of examples of how word-of-mouth marketing has been effective. And one of my favorites was Mo Siegel at Celestial Seasonings Tea. When he started that company, you know, they have those cool little boxes. He put a note, printed card inside each box that said, if you like our tea, we don't have a big advertising, we're a new company, we don't have a big advertising budget. If you like our tea, would you please tell your friends?
Yeah, I remember that.
And you know, that made me think, how many bookmarks have we produced? When did we ever say,
tell your friends?
Yeah, and that's the difference between word of mouth and word of mouth marketing, is getting them, you know, asking people to tell their friends.
Yeah, telling them there's this cool event we're doing is great, but encourage them to tell someone else. Don't let them figure it out for themselves.
Right. Yeah. And with our customer service, like have you heard about what they did at West Palm Beach, Florida?
I don't think so.
They they brought this company in. I guess West Palm Beach is not as totally ritzy as Palm Beach, and they were having some budget problems, and they brought this company in that does hotel
Hospitality.
yeah. Thank you. And they did this process called GASP, focused on graphics, ambiance, style, and presence.
Interesting.
And they got the whole staff involved in reinventing themselves and repositioning the library. And they started out with using adjectives to describe the library, and in addition to things like friendly and accurate and things that you would, they added whimsical and tropical, and they then declared themselves to be the nicest library in the world, and developed with staff involvement a list of topics that describe their customer service philosophy, and it's on a little card that you can carry in your wallet.
The staff people.
Yeah.
Nice.
That how they welcome staff and what they do, and that it becomes a deal that you just don't wait for it to happen automatically.
Yeah.
Like Nordstrom's is known for their good customer service, and they have this customer service rules thing that says there's one rule. Our first rule, we trust you to use your best judgment.
And some libraries do that too.
And that's their only rule.
That's great.
And so what they're doing is empowering people to make people happy.
Tell me again what GASP stands for. Graphics, ambiance,
style, and
style.
presence.
How could I not?
Yeah.
That. That's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of the positioning thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, building, like Columbus, Ohio also has done a lot of work on customer service, and they have a whole training program called, again, another acronym, CLASS. Customers leaving appreciative, satisfied, and sold. And everybody is evaluated. They have huge training opportunities for all new staff, and customer service is a priority. I found this out because I was there one day at a meeting that had nothing to do with the Columbus Library, and just went in and could feel it. And when I got home, I contacted them and said, okay, how do you do this?
What's the difference?
Yes,
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's something that's expected of everybody on the staff. Okay, the next thing you need is a plan. And on page 4 in your handout,
and the handouts will be posted on our website, so you'll be able to download them.
there is an outline for a marketing communication plan. Did it get there?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's in the handouts,
yeah.
and those handouts will be posted on our website along with this recording.
Okay, cool. So it's a real logical, no big deal process, and the best thing to do is have the director appoint a team that has staff at several levels involved and work together on this plan, and then get the whole staff involved.
And I always try to encourage them to invite the board to be a part of this planning process. Even do it at a board meeting if you need to in order to get them involved.
Somebody from the board, maybe somebody from Friends.
Friends is absolutely essential.
No,
if you've got a Friends group.
And I've
Volunteers.
seen some libraries now that have both Friends and foundations, and they're also going their own way. So, again, having a plan
that everybody's working together on.
Yeah. So you can be organized, focused, and consistent.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's good to have that overall marketing communication plan for the library, but also you can do it for a special campaign.
Yes, and that's one of the things we'll be talking about over the next few months a lot, is the way that we'll be working with libraries to help them do a campaign to market their public computing centers. And of course that's through our BTOP and Gates grant, but there are public computing centers in libraries all over that will be able to do this too, whether or not they have a grant.
And I have to stop here and say a little bit about the book.
Say a little bit about the book.
Well, it became possible because we had a project with 2 of the library systems around the Chicago area, and DuPage and North Suburban, and that's a whole other story because they're not existing in quite the same way. But it was a state library grant, and they wanted to focus on buzz marketing, so my business partner Linda and I did workshops for each of the systems, and then libraries that wanted to be part of the project could sign on, and we had 35 of them.
Wow, that is a great group.
Yeah, and they each got 8 hours of our consulting time. And
on the ground?
Yeah.
In their library?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. We went out and did training with the staff in the libraries and worked with them to develop a plan. And the cool thing about it was the grant required that they develop a project and complete it within the grant period. So we were able to
actually see how it turned out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the book is the basics that we're going over now about how to do it, but it's also case studies from those libraries about how to make it happen.
Yeah. Very good.
And
very good way to
for example, Winnetka, Illinois decided that they would focus on promoting their online databases.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just quickly give you they did a great job of getting the whole staff involved. They started out having a contest to come up with a message for their campaign. It's We're Up When You Are 24/7 with their URL.
Mm-hmm.
And they, nice prize for the staff person. It was a gift certificate. And then they did demonstrations of the databases to everybody on the staff, even the guys that cleaned the floor. Everybody got to see one-on-one what those tools were like and how to get to them and how to use them. And they produced this bookmark. I looked at it and I thought, what's that? And then it made a lot of sense. It had the message, and then it had the list of all those tools.
Oh, uh-huh.
So that when you showed one to somebody, you could check it off and hand it to them. Because what does ProQuest say? I mean, or
who remembers that?
Right. Yeah. And then they had another contest, more incentives than I would have thought necessary. They printed these little Post-it notepads with the message on it, and the person who gave the most of those got, and made the pitch got another prize. And when I was there doing the program for the staff, I was between sessions. I was standing behind the circ desk when the clerks turned around and said, "I just made the pitch." They had fun.
Yeah,
they got into
awesome.
it. They had a good time.
That's great. That's exactly what we want. We want people to have a good time.
Oh wait, man. Go ahead.
We got a question. And we meant to say this periodically. If you have any questions, please do type it in the chat box or raise your hand so that you can ask a question using the microphone.
Okay, the next thing you need is the clear, memorable message. Again, every library ought to have a message that they use consistently over time. And as I said before, we tend to change things all the time, and there's just clutter going on. So
you have to use the same message until you're so sick of it, then you use it another 10 years.
Right. We had a list of the top 10 advertising slogans of the 20th century that Ad Age.
Remember, yeah.
Yeah. So there are things like "Just Do It," "Breakfast of Champions," "Does She or Doesn't She?"
And everybody knows what those mean still.
Yeah. Do you know what "Does She or Doesn't She" is?
Oh, sure, Clarissa. Or hair.
Clairol. Yeah. I was doing a program in North Carolina, and there was a whole room of librarians, and all the gals said Clairol, and the guy raised his hand and said, that meant something different to us.
Well, they weren't the target audience, were
they? No. How about this one?
They got through to the target audience.
How about this one? When it rains, it pours.
Morton Salt, of course.
And I did recently look on their website, and I'm not sure if it's 1908 or 1918, but they've been using that.
The same slogan?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I bet they're just really tired of it. But
I know they are.
But everybody knows that one. Everybody knows that one.
But I love the piece of this where you say, please tell your friends. It's not enough to just say the library's wonderful. We've got everything. We're open 24 hours a day. Please tell your friends. That's the rest of the message. And
they say that you have to hear something at least 7 times before it sinks in. So even if you're doing, developing a campaign like Winnetka to promote a specific service,
It's still please tell your friends.
Yeah,
It's
and
still please tell your friends.
be
Yeah.
consistent about it. Yeah, and you know, there still is some pushback about using these commercial things, but it's so easy for us to start to be in charge. You know, we can use what we want of the commercial world's tools.
Mhm.
We
Pick
we
and
don't.
choose.
Yes,
Mhm.
and it can all start with our mission. In fact, a basic library message ought to be its mission. Except how many people can say their library's mission? A lot of them are pretty
Wordy.
wordy,
Yeah.
esoteric.
And that's
Yeah.
why I encourage people to have taglines for their mission. For example, we have a mission, but we also have a tagline, which is bringing together people and information. I mean, obviously, it's very general. It's not as specific as our mission. Our mission says who, which people, what information.
Right. So you
need
start
something to.
Yeah, and I heard the director of Minnesota Public Library say a few years ago that they're mission-driven, market-dependent.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you're not leaving your mission, you're just translating it
Mm-hmm.
and making it into something you can say.
Remember.
Oh, and one other thing I want to say while we're talking about message is in addition to the library having a message, you ought to have your own personal message. So that when you meet somebody new at a party and they say, "What do you do?"
Librarian.
You
What does that
tell
mean?
your
You-
story.
yeah, you kind of have a shtick.
Mhm.
You know, you kind of have fun with it. We can surprise and delight without too much trouble. I was doing a staff day program at the library in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and I asked the group to please just take 5 minutes or so and think about what their own message is. And pretty soon these two gals in the front started giggling, and I said, "Okay, what's so funny?" And one of them kind of turns around and gets a little horizontal. And says, "I'm an adult video." And the other one says, "I'll get your circulation going." And then a guy in back raised his hand and says, "You drop it, I mop it." But you know, it's so much, you can have so much fun out in the world when you're kind of ready. Mm-hmm. One of the things I always like to do is ask people if they have a library card. Like I was on a one-way trip not too long ago from Denver to Chicago, and I had changed my reservation. That's why it was a one-way ticket, which means that you're potentially a terrorist, so they pull you out of the they pull you out of the TSA line for special screening, and they take you in this room where they've got people. And this guy was pulling all the stuff out of my carry-on bag, and he pulled out a book, and the TSA agent, and he looked at me and he said, "Is this a good book?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I just borrowed it from the state librarian in Wyoming." And I looked at him and I said, "Do you have a library card?" He pulls out his wallet and shows me his library card. And then he says to the other TSA agents, "She's got to see our library card." But, you know,
Nice.
that's hilarious. Practically everybody has one. What's the number now? Isn't it something like,
It's huge.
yeah, isn't it like 79 or more % of the
It's huge.
And we're there. And look at everybody's trying to get in your wallet these days. The drugstore, the grocery store.
Little tags on the
yeah.
keychain.
Yeah. And we've got those too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So develop your own message as well as the libraries. So good to be ready. And the next thing we need, we've been talking about this all along, that prepared and committed sales force is all those people that we named, the whole family. So it's the whole staff. It's the board members. It's other stakeholders. You know, it's
our whole team.
Yeah, it's friends, volunteers, and you'll see when you have the handout that on page 7 there's a message sheet. And this is a really important tool, and the one I included in this is...
It's from Winnetka,
Yeah,
Illinois Public Library.
It's that one I was talking about, their campaign.
Oh, yes.
And
We're up when you are.
24 hours a day, yeah. And what you do is you have the key message there. You have a couple of talking points, some statistics. The library has more than 35 online subscriptions and close to 400 online reference books. And I've heard people say, we pay for them so you don't have to.
Yes, that's great.
And then a story or two you could share. Like they found out that during the middle of the night, the most popular online resources are Morningstar and Heritage Quest.
Genealogy.
Yeah.
Genealogy, I get Morningstar. Okay.
People are worried. They're up all night and
they're
worried
worried.
about their investments.
Yeah, I guess so.
So the deal about a message sheet is that you can literally have everybody on the same page. You know, what do you want people to be talking about?
And that would be
give it
very
to
good
them.
for people who are setting up public computing centers, to have a message sheet that everybody in their group, they're including their volunteers, their friends.
It talks about the
They
BTOP.
all
It mentions
agree.
the Gates Foundation.
Yeah.
It's the whole,
Yeah.
all kinds of ways you can get people's attention.
We have a comment from Joanna Walden, who's from Lexington Public Library, about what she did when their new building was being built. They opened a new location 2.5 years ago, and with her phone, she filmed the construction site and opening day, and then she had it on her phone. So she shared it with anyone I was trapped in line with, voting, grocery, neighborhood meetings.
Oh, I
It was
love
on
that.
her phone that she
Oh,
could
that's
share
great.
and say, look, this is our new library, and it was right there with her. So with these new smartphones people have,
That's great.
they can take that kind of more interactive thing with them.
That's super.
Yeah, that is great. A lot of people have things they can video.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay, next thing we need. People willing to testify, because the testimonial is the strongest form of advertising there is. If you hear somebody say something nice about the library, ask them if you can quote them. And use it on the website. Use it in your printed materials. Hang it up. I mean, it's just, I was doing some interviews, it was probably for that same project I was just talking about in the suburbs of Chicago, and I talked to an editor at the Daily Herald, which is the newspaper that's all over the suburbs, and I tried out this idea on her, and I've yet to see a library do it, so I please ask anybody who's here today to see if this would work for you and use it. Do a column in your local newspaper. And instead of having a list of stuff that you have, or even a list of programs that are coming up at the library, make the headline your library's key message, and then each week feature a different user, a photograph. And it can be the mayor one week, a second grader the next, a guy at the auto repair store the next, you know, just people who are saying their quote about the library, and you could have maybe a website they recommend or what book they're reading.
Great idea.
Well, and people would look at it, who'd they get this week? You know,
Yeah,
who are they, and people would like to be in it as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
You'd probably have a waiting list of people who do it. And the local newspapers like this because they like having local people in the paper. That's what sells the newspaper.
And it's them telling their story. I
Right.
love that.
Right.
That's great.
Right. So another kind of testimonial is getting experts to give you a quote, you know, the local officials, you know, just making it real, how people value the library. And next, we just have another piece of wisdom about this that I think kind of
No, those
says it.
horns.
Yeah. Get someone else to blow your horn and the sound will carry twice as far. Now, I wanted to talk briefly about how you do this, how you deliver a message. And these are just main points about it. You have to have that message sheet, be clear on what it is you're saying, and you know, the open face, open body, this is Arch Lusberg stuff, who was a guru coach. He does media training for people. And, you know, the open face is your raised eyebrows, your smile, all these things that go a long way. and whatever you can not just talk about but demonstrate, and yeah, make it a passion show. Have fun. Be enthusiastic. Remember to smile, because that's the best thing that sells. And we're talking about selling and having fun. So what do you do when people ask you stuff you can't answer?
Some people are really good at this.
Well, you know, and the cool thing to do is, if you can, again, work as a staff team, get together and discuss what are the questions you don't want to be asked.
And be prepared. That's
exactly.
It. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are the things that you're afraid of? What are the issues that you think you're going to have to deal with? So be prepared. Respond quickly. Don't ignore the question. But if you can't answer it, be real honest about it. If you can't answer it, don't try to answer a question you don't understand. Just tell them that you can't answer it, and you'll find somebody who can and get back to them, and then follow through. And always respond with a positive. You know, if somebody says, libraries distribute smut to kids, you don't say, we don't give smut. You know, don't repeat the crummy word. Never repeat a negative. Absolutely not. Librarians guide children to the best things to read. You know, respond, bridge to the positive, and keep it simple. Answer questions as briefly as possible. Then, boy, there's this whole new area that I have to say is not my long suit, but boy, what does social networking add to this whole possibility?
It's another tool, a very important tool.
It's incredible. And I think what I've seen most of all is that we have to be very deliberate about how we use these new tools. What I wanted to do when I was doing a program not too long ago was divide the group up and have them decide which are the most important. You know, it's Facebook, Twitter, but and then do a fact sheet for each one of them. Just discuss, why are we doing this? Who's it for? Who's going to do it? When?
What's the content? I mean, what's the content for that audience? Like, we have a Facebook page that we target to people who are interested in our book festival, our annual book festival. So the content that's targeted to those people is very different than something you would be doing for folks that are interested in accessing e-government through your public computing center. It's got to be targeted, and it's got to be of interest to them.
And it's got to be part of your plan. There's a reason, you know. So if you just go through those basic who, what, why, when, where things and have it covered. I think the most risky part, and you know more about this than is if you get on these things and then don't maintain it.
Yes.
You know,
it has to be someone's responsibility, and more than one pages, someone.
Dead Twitter feeds are useless.
Yeah.
And they make you they're not helping the library. They're not helping anyone. They just make you look bad.
We have staff teams that split up their blogging responsibilities. So each week, one person on that team is blogging about something of interest to a particular target audience.
And can you tell how many people have used it in Tumblr?
Well, you can tell how many people comment.
Yeah.
But that isn't necessarily
visits.
That isn't necessarily how many people have read it.
Yeah.
So we probably, I don't know if we.
And there's lots of places that things feed out to too. So there's so many different places people could be reading it in their RSS readers, and you don't know that because you don't get a hit on your website. Right. It feeds into our Facebook page, so that would be a different statistic we'd have to look at to say something like that. So there's a lot of different. I think your stats nowadays on things that are internet based are probably lower than the reality because of all those different ways people can get your information, but your website doesn't reflect that in a statistic that's collectible there.
Yeah, I just think it's real important that we use it, but that we use it for a reason and get really organized, focused, and consistent.
Exactly.
About
Have a
what it
just
is.
like anything else,
For a
have a
specific
plan.
reason, for a specific target
Yeah,
audience.
and not just because it's hip and cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't use the technology for technology's sake. Have a
Right,
plan first.
right,
Don't just say,
yeah.
oh, everybody's got a Facebook page. We need to also. Okay, but then what?
Yeah, why and
Yeah.
when, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, so this is just a quote from one of the people that was in the project, that the Buzz project we did, and I have another one that I'd like to share from Winnetka, since I've been talking about that. This was from their assistant director who developed that project with the whole staff. She said, people are always looking for the magic pill that will make staff buy into things, and this is it. It's about empowerment. Because we undertake big projects, but staff don't feel like they're part of it or see the end results. With this one, they've been part of it from the beginning, and that's the magic. You see the database use increase, but you also see staff morale increase. The excitement builds as the patrons come and give reports about how they've been using the materials at home. And the process keeps growing, and we're having fun, and work should be about having fun.
That's cool.
And you know what you see in this plan, when you guys look at the plan, is that there's measurable objectives. If you're going to promote the databases, what kind of growth of use do you want? And you'll get there. And that's what they found. That's what these libraries found that were part of this project. So there's tips on your handout about more ideas for using word of mouth marketing, but the key to it is to build that team, get the whole staff involved, have some fun, and get libraries into the conversation. And when you think about all the places that people are in the communities and all the opportunities, it's awesome. And do we have, yeah, we have time.
Yeah, that's 5 minutes.
We've got, in the programs we do with libraries, we get staff to do these scenarios, which usually in a group, some people kind of, ooh, they don't want to do this because they think they got to do a role play or something. But all you have to do is read the script. I was going to do one of these with Mary Jo, but maybe you two ought to do them.
Okay.
All right?
Sure.
Okay.
Although maybe you should, because you're right in front of the microphone. I'm not sure that we're coming. Have you heard from anybody that they're able to hear us?
No comments either way. I'm assuming that means it's all good.
Okay.
So
And I'm a loud talker, so
do you want to?
Krista, you might want to scooch over.
This is Welcome Neighbor. The library super salesperson is knocking at his or her new neighbor's door.
Yeah. It's a her. I'm the neighbor.
You're the neighbor?
I'm the neighbor. I'm still unpacking.
You're still unpacking.
Hello? Will you guys please be quiet? There's someone at the door.
You're the library super.
You're the library super salesperson.
Oh, okay. Should I use my own name, I guess?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Krista Burns, your neighbor from across the street. Welcome to our neighborhood. I brought you some cookies and stuff.
That's very nice of you. Thanks. Would you like to come in?
That's okay. You've got your hands full. I thought you could probably use a treat. I also wanted to let you know about our wonderful library. That's where I work.
Really? Our old library was pretty sad.
Oh, well, this one is pretty fabulous. We've got books, CDs, DVDs, computers, an incredible website. We also have wonderful programs for parents and your kids.
That sounds great. Where is it?
It's over that way a couple of miles. I brought you one of our library guides and a map. We like to say the library card is the smartest card. I hope you'll get one for everyone in your family.
I'm sure we will. Thanks so much. Now that wasn't hard, was it?
No, and wouldn't it be cool to welcome all neighbors? Maybe everybody does that. I don't know.
Bring a loaf of bread.
Yeah, places have welcome
Cookies?
committees and things sometimes for neighborhood.
Yeah.
But we're asking, I think, the librarians to be the welcoming committee.
Yes,
The staff and the volunteers at the library
Do
to
you
be our
do you wanna
welcoming committee.
Do this one's called testimonial. I'll do
Sure.
this one with you.
Okay.
Am I the librarian or are you the? Okay. There you go. This book and these 3 websites should have everything you need.
My goodness, you are amazing. I knew there was a lot of stuff out there about doing your family tree, but when I went online, I was overwhelmed. At least now I know where to start. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm glad I could help, but now I have a question for you. I'd like to write down what you just said and have you sign this permission form. We'd love to have stories like yours to share.
Well,
I think what you said is, oh my goodness, you are amazing. I knew there was a lot of stuff out there about doing your family tree, but when I went online, I was overwhelmed. At least I know where to start. Thank you so much. Would it be okay if we quote you? It's for a good cause.
well, oh, I guess I can do that. You really are amazing.
I don't read these as well as the folks do that hand them to.
You get the general idea. The idea is that it's not enough just to provide good service. I mean, we do provide good service. That is the mainstay of marketing, is actually having something to market. But we've got to ask people to tell other people about the service we provide.
Yeah.
And that will really build the buzz.
Yeah, yeah. And it's easy to do and it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
And
probably the most unlikely people are good at it.
Well, and probably there's a lot of people that are doing it already, but we haven't really stirred the pot and made it everybody's
mainstream.
Yeah, everybody's job.
Expectation.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that I discovered. Oops, we're out of time.
No, we're not. You're fine.
That's okay.
One thing that I discovered when we were doing the workshops with all these libraries all around the suburbs is that there was pushback from some staff about building that relationship with customers. They don't want people to know their names. They think it's dangerous. They think it's our job not to bother people, that we're supposed to just be passive and let people explore knowledge on their own.
Well, and you can do that if that's what they say they want.
Right, but I also would find that if I said to them, and then when you're out in the community, people at the grocery store will point and say, there's the library lady, and they say, yeah.
They already do that.
Yeah, and I think that those attitudes need to be changed. I think we do need to be building relationships, adding on the cheers factor. Yeah.
Let me ask if there's anyone out there who has a question. If you want to raise your hand to speak through your microphone, we'd love to hear from you. Or if you have a question that you'd like to type into the chat box, we'll get that as well.
We have a few minutes here. We can still do that if you want. Go ahead, do it again.
Oh, I hit it too hard.
You wanted to be on.
Oh, that was, yeah.
There we go.
I've lost the wireless on the laptop. That's why I'm using this.
No questions?
Look like it. No.
Well,
and thank you for telling us the audio is okay. I was a little worried about whether we were coming across or not.
And thanks for coming. And please just do it. Put it to work. It's
That's
powerful.
A great picture of you.
It's powerful and it's affordable.
It's affordable, yes.
Yes. And I do think we can build that cadre of enthusiasts, even if they don't wear leather.
You can wear leather if you want to.
Yes, it's okay.
We had some great thank yous and valuable information. Wonderful class. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much, Peggy. That was great. As we said, the recording will be posted, and all the handouts she was mentioning will be posted up when the recording gets up probably tomorrow. So we'll have all of that out there for you, as well as the PowerPoint presentation too will be out there. So that's it for this morning. Thank you very much for attending, and we hope you'll join us next week here in Nebraska for NCompass Live, where our topic is, well, the title is Introducing Nebraska Libraries on the Web. The Library Commission has a newish project. It's been around for a little while.
Been working on it about a year.
Yeah, providing free hosted WordPress-based websites for libraries. I'm going to find out next week about how you can get involved in that. If you're a Nebraska library and you need a website, sign up and you'll learn all about it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
And we'll see you
Bye.
next week. Bye-bye.